Here you can see I have created a nice stool with different effect points. I'll show you now quickly how to create a stool very similar to this. Now, first, open Sketchup. It will appear like this. As usual, go Plugins, RCT3, Placement and Full Tile. Now, the boundary will appear. You may notice when looking at this that these two diagonals can appear to be an arrow. In fact, we'll actually want to place our stool at the opposite side of the point. So we'll be placing it over here. An important thing to remember is not to create your stool exactly on the edge of this boundary. Your effect points for your people will be across this line here. Effect points will be through here, and I'll have my vendor effect point around here. When creating a stool, you need 4 people effect points and 1 vendor. To create effect points, simply use the text tool, or as you can see the icon is labelled ABC. Click this and select the location you want the effect point. Drag this part to wherever that does not affect it. I'll call this Peep 1, that the people will come to when buying food or drink or whatever you wish to serve. I'll just place mine roughly here, it doesn't need to be too exact. Just call it vendor so it's easier to use when importing. You'll notice I have separate groups for separate colours. I have many recolorable textures in this. Remember, you do not need to group everything as one, as when you export it as an ASL file, it will be detected as one group, as long as you don't have a single group selected. Go Plugins, ASC Exporter, Export, Export Construction Points. You want this for our effect points. Simply save this. I'm just saving over an old file. You'll notice that I have my peep and vendor effect points. I also have my different coloured textures as before, and that's not needed anymore. Now when I open the importer, you can see I've set up the theme type already, my theme name, and of course my prefix. You need to create your OVL. First, add your different textures. These are all the different textures I'm using to create my model. Notice that my black are all recolorable. So I'm just setting up the different recolorable settings. Also my blue and pink are, as they are the colours on the umbrella that will be recolorable. As you can see, I now have all my recolorable textures. Red, white and yellow do not need to be, as they're the sources, and I don't need them to be recolorable. Now I add my model. Just simply locate where you saved it. Simply open that here. So all my different groups have now appeared, and since I named them correctly, it's simple for me to apply my textures that I've named the same. Also down here you'll notice your effect points. These cannot be edited across this bar anywhere. Note, while in here, if you scroll all the way to the right, if you have ever had scenery or anything that has had invisible pieces, simply change the faces to double-sided, and this can fix that problem. This should not increase the lag at all, so I prefer to add this to all of mine. Now, just assign the textures to the group. Whoops. Make sure you do not make a mistake here, because you don't want to be coming back if you can help it. I've now set up all my textures. Now I need to fix the orientation so it appears the right way in the game. Another thing in here that you can use, it's not necessarily needed for stools, is your flag setting. They're important. If you want to say set your texture to the terrain, same as the terrain, or cliffs, just simply click any of these. You don't need to apply any textures for this to work. These are also needed for scrolling signs, billboards, etc. But this can stay at none as we don't need this for this tutorial. Now I need to add data to my effect points. So I'll simply come over to the effect frame and I'll select automatic, and this will automatically take all these over. Now I need to assign these jobs. So I'll select the vendor first and go edit. Just click the star. You do not need to adjust any of the X, Y or Z coordinates since these are already set. Go down to peep and select vendor. Okay, and now you have your vendor point. Do the same for the people, just a star, peep instead of vendor. Do this all the way through. Remember, you do not need to change the X, Y or Z coordinates. Don't worry about the name changing. The importer still tells the difference. I've set up everything, now go OK. Just do the automatic level of details. Then just create your scenery OVL, which I've already done so I don't need to redo that. Set up all your icon textures, which I've done. I've already loaded mine, which is a 512 sheet consisting of 64 by 64 icons. You can either save these as PNGs or JPEGs, it does not matter. I use JPEG as they seem to work easily for me. Simply as always, use the automatic for the icon sheets. Remember, these go from the top to the bottom and left to right. I've created my text strings. The first one is for the name of the entire set, and the second is the name of the store I've created. I now go to the scenery manager. I've already created this, so I'll just show you what I've set up. Simply open the OVL I created the name Surfing Oz Shops. You can type that in here. Set up the icon for the group and created the name string just using the group name. Then I did the icon for my shop and the name for my shop. I then set my unknown 1 to 0 unknown 1, my unknown 2 to 2 unknown 3. I set my unknown 3 to 1, my unknown 4 to 2. I then set unknown 5 to 0, and unknown 6 to 0, and unknown 7 to 0. I also disabled unknown 8, and I set unknown 9 to 1. In the flag setting, I set 3, 4, 8, 14, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. These flag settings and the unknown are needed to create a store. In the scenery options, which is better known as SIDS, I haven't set a cost or a refund as these aren't too important. I set the scenery type to store. The supports types are none, and extra parameters are none, as you do not need these for stores. I have set the position to 0.0 for X, Y, and Z coordinates. The size I've set to 4 by 4 by 4 for the X, Y, Z coordinates, as that's one RCT3 tile. Size in square is 1. Placement flag is full tile, as that's the size of a store. So that's all I need for that. So I simply select OK. I close this. Now this is the main part. Go to the right and select stores. You need to then select add, as I've already created mine. I'll just go edit. I just used the name string and selected food cart. That automatically renamed some of these files. You can select your stall type, food, drinks, miscellaneous, or utilities. Mine's food because it's more of a sort of hot dog stand. Select the scenery item. These can only select the ones that you have already added through the OVL and scenery manager. I simply set the unknowns to default. They seem to work for me. Now just go OK, close this. You can then install. I've already installed mine, and then you will have your own store in the game. I hope this tutorial has helped you. Thank you. This is Surfing Oz. Goodbye.